Hello everyone, this is Chromý and together we will continue the course Interdisciplinary Approaches to Language and its Use. In this presentation we will briefly present the cue-based retrieval, which is an approach to sentence comprehension, which is centered around the idea that to understand how we process sentences is highly constrained by the memory processes. From the perspective of the cue-based retrieval, we may say that the memory presents a limitation for language processing. To comprehend a sentence, we must mentally encode and retrieve linguistic representations in memory. The processing problems we encounter are therefore often problems of memory retrieval. According to the cue-based retrieval approach, the primary source of a memory failure is interference, and it affects both the ability to maintain active information and to restore inactive information into the focus of attention. Another source of failure may be the decay of information, which happens due to the lack of attention focused on the specific contents on memory. Importantly, interference and decay in sentence comprehension may be examined in carefully designed experiments. Julie van Dyke and Dyke Lewis published a study which analyzed the effects of interference and decay in processing garden path sentences. What they did is that they manipulated the length and complexity of the ambiguous region. They used a garden path sentence such as "the frightened boy understood the man was paranoid about dying," and they inserted embedded clauses between the ambiguous phrase "the man" and the disambiguating verb "was." Here we have an example of items used in the experiments. Three conditions were used. In the first condition, the frightened boy understood the man was paranoid about dying. The ambiguous region is very short because the disambiguating verb "was" follows directly after the ambiguous phrase "the man." The two other conditions contain longer ambiguous regions. However, they differ in the complexity of these regions. In the sentence, "the frightened boy understood the man who said the townspeople are dangerous was paranoid about dying," the ambiguous region is very complex and it should cause high interference because there is an intervening subject, townspeople, between the ambiguous region, "the man," and the disambiguating verb. In the condition, "the frightened boy understood the man who was swimming near the dock was paranoid about dying," the region is less complex and there is no interfering noun between the ambiguous phrase "the man" and the disambiguating verb. Van Dyke and Lewis measured reaction times using self-paced reading paradigm, and they also tested acceptability judgments and comprehension using questions such as "was it the man who was paranoid?" In sum, they found that interference had a significant effect on both reading times and acceptability judgments, but the distance as such did not. The authors thus argue that interference is the key variable influencing the reanalysis of garden paths. Before we will conclude this presentation, I have two reading tips for you. We do not have time for detailed discussion of the cue-based retrieval approach. But if you would like to learn more about it, you should read either a review article by Dan Parker, Michael Schwartzman, and Julie van Dyke, "The Cue-Based Retrieval Theory of Sentence Comprehension, New Findings and New Challenges," or a review article, "Memory Interference as a Determinant of Language Comprehension" by Julie van Dyke and Clinton Johns. If you enjoyed the presentations, we would be glad if you would like them on YouTube. That is all from me now. See you next time.